Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Let's begin the study circle on the sunlit path, words said by the mother. And just a reminder that mother tells us that we must never take her words to be just words. They are forces in action, and we must receive them that way. And before we begin, invoking the Mother and Sri Aurobindo's grace and presence, aspiring and praying for more receptivity, flexibility, courage, and will, and more grace in our lives. So just taking a few breaths in the present moment to be fully here, ready to receive what is to be given to us today. Thank you. So today we have to take up this passage, the next passage, which is aspiration is like an arrow. So last time we had done find that something, and the section is receptivity and aspiration. So if anybody is willing, it's a short passage, one page. If they are willing, they can unmute and please read it for us. If not, I'll read.
Shall I read?
Please, thank you.
Aspiration is like an arrow, like this gesture. So you aspire, want very earnestly to understand, know, enter into the truth. Yes. And then with that aspiration, you do this gesture. Your aspiration rises straight up, very strong. Then it strikes against a kind of, how to put it, lid, which is there, hard like iron and extremely thick, and it does not pass through. And then you say, see, what's the use of aspiring? It brings nothing at all. I meet with something hard and cannot pass. But you know about the drop of water which falls on the rock? It ends up by making a chasm. It cuts the rock from the top to bottom. Your aspiration is a drop of water which, instead of falling, rises. So, by dint of rising, it beats, and one day it makes a hole. By dint of rising, and when it makes the hole, suddenly it springs up from this lid and enters an immensity of light, and you say, ah, now I understand. It's like that. So one must be very persistent, very stubborn, and have an aspiration which rises straight upwards. That is, it does not go roaming around here and there, seeking all kinds of things. Only this, to understand, to learn, to know, to be. When one reaches the very top, there is nothing more to understand, nothing more to learn. One is, and it's when one is that one understands and knows.
Thank you, Nandini. Yes, so inviting any reflections, anybody has any comments, any line, anything they would want to talk about on or have questions. Otherwise, we'll take it line by line, but opening it up for reflections. Okay. So even if we look at the title, right, that in itself is quite revelatory, quite visual, and I think it basically sums up a lot of what is being said. that aspiration is like an arrow. The arrow is so, it has a particular shape usually, right? Like it has this thing, it wants to go ahead, and obviously wherever you throw it, it goes. And somehow with the arrow, I don't know why, because of conditionings and all, the picture I come that comes to me is like basically of Arjun or say Ram holding an arrow, like it has a purpose and it has the capacity to hit that eye of the fish. If I am aiming at the eye of the fish, like Arjun did. So, aspiration, we have been reading about it, is powerful, is a must on this path. And it's like an arrow, and now it's upon me, up to me, and grace. If I know where do I want to send that arrow, if I know that yes, I do have an arrow that can be shot somewhere, and what is the target that I'm choosing for my arrow, and how much am I practicing so that my arrow can be, more and more and more hitting the target every time. So very visually beautiful. Everything is on me. My effort, my sincerity, my honesty, my will, my dedication. So, yes. So, Mother says, aspiration is like an arrow, like this. So, you aspire, want very earnestly to understand, know, enter into the truth. So what is she saying? What are we aspiring for? To understand, right? Understand not just, the basic stuff that we usually are forced to understand, but things beyond the daily bread and butter. And this aspiration has to be done very earnestly and towards entering the truth. She asks, yes. And then with that aspiration, you do this. So I'm assuming it's going up. So your aspiration rises, rises, rises straight up, very strong, just like a well shot arrow. And then it strike against a kind of lid which is there, hard like iron and extremely thick, and it does not pass through. So it appears to us that it's not passing through, is I think what I would perceive, because I don't even know what passing through means or what is it that it should happen if it's passing through. So then I say, the mother says, then you say, see, what's the use of aspiring? It brings nothing at all. So in this world of instant gratification, I feel that just the fact that I am aspiring, I am shooting that arrow, I am asking in my sincerity, and it should happen, right? Similarly, just like that, when we read something and we understand something or we think we have understood something, something in us falsely believe that, oh, now I've got it, I'll do it, right? Like as if just reading or understanding will bring it into practice for me, and it never happens. It never happens. I have to make a conscious effort to put it in practice. And as Sri Aurobindo says time and again, and I recently read it in Synthesis, that without the practice, it's of no use. I mean, I'm obviously paraphrasing. I would like to pause in case there's anything.
Um, when I was reading it, came to my mind that it says aspiration is like an arrow, and so for aspiration, it is also, I think, very important to have a target. I feel to know what are we really aspiring for, um, and like this a beautiful quote that I really like, but the mother where she says that um yeah like the quality of your life will be determined by the quality of aim you have in your life. So I think that really goes well with this, that our aspiration can only be one pointed, like Arjuna, or if our goal is also as lofty as him, right? So aspirations, we can have, aspirations can be used in so much way for even for material life, and which is okay for good relationships, which we need, of course. But I think it can only become single pointed like an arrow when it is about unification with the divine, or about spiritual, something related with the spirit and not so much with the body. I was also watching this Buddha series, which explains the life of the Buddha, and I thought, okay, I had watched it before, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna actually watch it from the time he got enlightened, because that's what the point you get to know about his life. But something in me said, no, I should start from the beginning, and I'm so happy I started from the beginning because I related so much more from his earlier life, because there was so much suffering he was constantly undergoing from the from the way, just the thing that he would say that I'm just enveloped in the questions that I don't have answer, and it was bothering him so much that being a Yuvraj, or being a prince, or getting married to somebody who he loved, or having even a child does not really bring him any joy. He's constantly, and I could relate so much that, oh my God, I used to feel I have so much suffering, I'm not at ease, and I used to say it's so wrong, it's so wrong. I used to say, but that thing made me realize that no, it is actually a very important feature, if I can use, of the path, where it is so important, but it is on me. Buddha could take that leap, right? That his aspiration was so strong, because the one thing that he wanted, that I don't really want, मुझे उपाय नहीं चाहिए दुख के, that I do not really need, everyone knows how to get rid of the pain, how we can alleviate. But why does the suffering even arise? What's the nature of the suffering? I want to find that. And it was so one pointed. His aspiration had such a clear target that it was really like an arrow. But for us, we, for me at least, I can say that of course you feel that suffering being of sensitive nature, and you kind of but you don't have that one pointedness. We don't have that big aim. So I think that came to my mind, or something, maybe because I'm watching it, that how important it to become an arrow. It has to have a target. Otherwise, it will just be just scatterings here and there.
Yes, thank you, Nandini. So, we talk about these things, and a lot of times, sadly, when we talk, things are just limited to the entertainment level, right? Although, because it's spirituality, so we will not call it entertainment, we will call it tapasya, or we will call it walking on the right path. But if we are seeing these things, say for example, today, if right now what Nandini just said, what we were just discussing, that do we have a aim? What is our aim? Is it just comfort? Is it just relationship? Is it just, the basic bread and butter? Or is it something which is higher, bigger than me? Forget the big words. Am I the center of my world, or is there something that I feel is bigger than me, big enough for me to spend my life on, dying wanting to know what it is, maybe? And if not, maybe today is the day that I can think about and start, you know, giving myself that aim. We always have ideas, right? We know that, yes, I want to go around that area, or on that path, or yes, integral yoga, yeah, something. But I think choosing some targets, like we were saying, that focus on which the arrow will be hit, that where am I walking towards? What is my destination? And of course, it's not set in stone. If after a month, if I feel, okay, this I've understood, or I haven't, or probably this, but at least while I am right now sitting with that arrow in my hand, if I'm sitting with that arrow of aspiration in my hand, let it be, let it have something big and particular and strong. If we say talk to students, children, if we say that, okay, what do you want to be? And most of them will just look at us that, I don't know, or maybe anything, or, this is well paying, or this gives a lot of respect and stuff. And there's somebody else who says, it gives me, I don't know what it will give me, but I just know this is what I want to do. I just feel it. And that's it. There is the quality difference when we interact with such people, and everybody is right wherever they are, depending on where they are. And I'm sorry, I guess all I'm saying is it depends on me. And if I haven't been choosing the right target, if I haven't been realizing I need a target, maybe today I can spend some time with myself, not tomorrow, not day after, today, and see where is it that I'm pointing my arrow, or I want to point it. Yeah, stopping here. Any further reflections are welcome, please.
Yeah, that Nandini's, you know, what you're narrating about the Buddha was very beautiful. And I was just like, I love to refer to Savitri. So, she was saying, and it's like so true, right? That we feel sometimes this anguish that is unbearable, right? In that Canto 1, this is beautiful. And I read like just few lines. It's, is that okay, Taru?
Yeah, you don't have to ask, please.
Oh, okay. No, no, that's uh, so, this is the one where it goes, we've all read it. An absolute supernatural darkness falls on man sometimes when he draws near to God. An hour comes when fail all nature's means, forced out from the protecting ignorance and flung back on his naked primal need. He at length must cast from him his surface soul, and be the ungarbed entity within. That hour had fallen now on Savitri, a point she had reached where life must be in vain, or, in her unborn element awake, her will must cancel her body's destiny. Then one more sentence. For only the unborn spirit's timeless power can lift the yoke imposed by birth and time. So that is so beautiful, so beautiful. So yeah, we have these moments sometimes when we are just in anguish. But I think, as you're all saying, I think it wavers, And I was reminded that Mother has said something very beautiful. That at one point in your life, at any point, if you have had, because if you have had that very intense aspiration, I want nothing but you, and there may be in our lives, if we look back, sometimes that like deep, right? And then other times it gets muffled because we start wanting other things also. But there may be times when that aspiration was very pure, So you're talking about the arrow. And then Mother says it's over, it's over because that has reached, right? It has hit the target. So yes, it might miss other time, but that one arrow hit, right? And she said, then it's over. You can do whatever, it's not going to change. And I love her assurance. She said, it's over, it's finished. Now, then it's a matter of it may take, X lives or, years or whatever. That's obviously depending on your sincerity and, perseverance. But that assurance to us is so beautiful. Yeah, that's just something else I just want to say.
Yes, thank you. Now this thing, he at length must cast from him his surface soul and be the ungarbed entity within. So to reach, to even decide a target, this would need to be done, right? At whatever degree we are capable of. The problem is mostly that with this ungarbed entity, there feels a vacuum which we don't know what to do. There is this nothingness because we are so used to activity. We are used to, friendships and gossips and doing this and that. So if one is told to be still now, if one feels, oh, I'm still now, one mostly fills back the cup with dirty water. But there would be a day when we would say, enough, I will not fill it again. And that hour had fallen now on Savitri. So beautiful, so apt. Her will must cancel her body's destiny. So again, Savitri is our story as well. We all know that. So whatever we can take from here, we must. Anything before we take the text again? Okay, moving on. I like this line as well, where mother says, and then you say, see, what's the use of aspiring? Sometimes I feel that I don't even know whether we want to be successful because we are so happy or, in a sad way when we fail or when we feel we fail. That we are so eager to say that what was the use, or see, I'm a failure, or see, I cannot do this, I've fallen again. So, more than the small steps that I am able to climb, I'm always wanting, there's something in me which is open to being critical of what I could not climb. And yet I have not given up. So, this also I think is a bit funny in us, or I don't know, something we have to transcend. It's not about funny or not funny. This question that, see, what's the use, because it keeps pulling us down and keeps us away from the target. So mother says, it brings nothing at all. I meet with some things hard and cannot pass. But you know about the drop. So mother reminds us, and we must, I see this so much within and without that we get so sad with the obstacles that we face, mostly within, when we are not able to transcend something that we think we should be able to transcend, that it really hurts and breaks us. And that obviously we will get up and we will go on, but the time that we waste is, I don't know, can be avoided. That waste can be avoided if this spirit, if this knowing is there that, you know, I think when we were reading about Champak Lalji in Inspirational Life, there was this beautiful poem about failure. And I don't, of course, remember the lines, but it was like, there's no failure. It's like everything is yours. My success is yours. My failure is yours. So if I remember that, I can actually be more steadier on my path. I would waste less time sitting on the corner and repenting or criticizing myself. So, Mother says, you know about the drop of water which falls on the rock. It ends up by making a chasm. It cuts the rock from top to bottom. We know that. We have seen this to be true, which what seems impossible, a small drop of water, one wonders what can it do. Just like last time when we were discussing the seed, a small seed, what can it do? So it's time that we get rid of that mentality, right? That reasoning that I'm so small, what can I do? So your aspiration is a drop of water which instead of falling rises. So by dint of rising, dint is again like dent, right? It beats, 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 and one day it makes a hole by dint of rising. And then when it makes the hole, suddenly it springs out from this lid and enters an immensity of light, and you say, oh, now I understand. So that has to be there, that thing for it to break, because it has to appear, it has to be, not appear is not the wrong word, it has to be my truth that I want it. It's not just one more thing that I'm curious about among the, 100 or 50 other things that I wonder what is there, what is there. No, one has to prove oneself. One has to be wanting to give up everything for that thing to make that whole. Yeah, pausing here in case on this aspect any
There
comment.
is also an element of, I mean, like we all face difficulties, right? So I think that also I see there because I think Alokta uses a very good example of like, like a series of tests that you must pass, right? These, call them whatever, forces that oppose, but they are also, in a way, agents of sincerity, he says, which is quite a good way of putting it, because they are testing our sincerity, right? So if you see, but that those tests can become harder. I mean, there is no doubt about that. So, the point is, you may have a very strong aspiration, and then, like, you clear one test tooth, and third one comes, and you're like, what is this? I can't deal with this, mate, whatever. And he gives very good examples, like, you can pass through, emotional tests, you can pass through it, and sometimes then they will hit even the body, right? I mean, that is like the ultimate, like this thing, so you have, I mean, there is, it's like, but yes, I think this sunlit path is, I think that is why we just remember the mother, and we have to keep that in the times when things are difficult. I mean, one cannot, you know, I mean, at this time in human existence, pain is there. I mean, one knows that it is there. It is, I remember Monica used to say, right? Like it is, we have come out of the inconscient. We are a mix of inconscient and like the higher elements, right? So it's all jumbled in us, right? We have the inconscient, the subconscious, conscious, this thing, and then open up to higher regions also. So that, that part is will resist. It will resist. It's not, it has not changed, right? Mother says in that to Surendranath Bihar. It has not yet changed. So it's so true, so beautiful.
While you were sharing some lines from Savitri, which I don't know, come to me very often, and I still don't remember them exactly, but they were coming, and I just share, that one that safe were those who kept God in their hearts, courage their armor, faith their sword,
Yeah,
they must
beautiful.
walk, children and soldiers of the army of light, they must walk. So I think if, I don't know, it keeps coming, and I think it cannot be, I don't know, said in a more beautiful way, that with God in my heart, I am safe, and courage is my armor, and faith is my sword, and I must walk. So that really cuts out a lot of drama for me, and it helps. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
You in the lives of Surdas, who was a very big saint and who has written a lot of bhajans and pads on Krishna Leela. I remember when reading about his life, he um, when he saw his guru Sri Vallabhacharya for the first time, um, he was singing because he had a very good voice, and he was singing and also aspiring for the Lord, for the mercy of the Lord to be with him. And he was doing his best, and he saw that even after, singing the fourth pad, fifth pad, the Vallabhacharya, he's not very happy, or he didn't look, very pleased with him. And then Vallabhacharya just stopped him. And, something that he said, I think I saw it online or read it, I don't remember, but it, the whole thing was that he said to Surdas that, that divine Krishna has given you such beautiful voice. You can become such a beautiful instrument. But why your aspiration or why your devotion is so much coming from the lack, from the space of lack, that you're blind. I can see only that I'm one thing that he used maybe was, I'm adham patit, that I'm fallen, I'm somebody who's fallen even below the fallen, and all these things. And that also was so beautiful, that especially for me, I've seen that a lot of times my aspiration comes from a space of lack, that I cannot do this. And especially because you also shared Savitri's lines, which aligns with it, that aspiration also, it's helpful, and the path become more easier when there's a sense of gratitude, there's a sense of faith, there's a sense of abundance in the heart. And from that, when the aspiration comes out, it's like a lotus flower that can be offered to the mother. I just felt like that also, I thought of sharing because you were sharing those lines.
Yes, thank you. I think the word that I remember he used a lot was deenta, like deen, as in, poor and helpless. So, yeah, and his guru was surprised that why would a shishya of, a devotee of Krishna call himself poor and helpless? So, moving on. So, by dint of rising, it beats, and one day it makes a whole. Again, this is so visual, right? That when we try, we feel nothing is moving, nothing is moving, nothing is moving. And yet we don't know how it's hitting slightly somewhere, something in me. That glass ceiling that I can't see. It's being poked by my efforts, and one day it will break. When we're trying to, when mother says how to find a psychic being, there also she says there's a door, right? And you push, and one day suddenly, before you think you are ready, it opens, maybe. Not maybe, for sure. So it makes the hole suddenly, it springs out from this lid and enters an immensity of light, and you say, ah, now I understand. It's like that. So one must be very persistent, very stubborn, and have an aspiration which rises straight upwards. In the world where we are told to be balanced and flexible and, I don't know, accommodative, adjusting, so Mother says, but here one must be very persistent, very stubborn, and have an aspiration which rises straight upwards. This stubbornness, this persistence, we see how important, how necessary it is, even when Nandini was sharing about the Buddha, right? There was this stubbornness, or there was this persistence that I have to know, I cannot go on like this. There has to be a reason why the suffering is there. How does it end? And take everything. I don't want anything, any comfort, any name, any title, any pleasure. But tell me, what is this all about? Chal kya raha hai? What is happening? So one must be very persistent, very stubborn, and have an aspiration which rises straight upwards. That is, which does not go roaming around here and there, seeking all kind of things. So this is the problem area for us, right? That it's not that we just want one thing. We want so many things. And because we want so many things, we don't have a focus, we don't have a target. And then we feel like, we are failing here also, there also. We might have those small, small wins, materialistic gains mostly, which make us feel that, oh, maybe kuch hu, I am something, and that life is going well. But then, of course, if you're, shooting for the flowers and not the stars, you won't end where, I don't know, you won't transcend much, but that's okay. We all have our journeys, but at least we can be honest with ourselves that it's not that I just want that. I want so many more, so much more. So that's what my truth is right now. So just repeating, rereading this beautiful thing that one must be very persistent, very stubborn, and have an aspiration which rises straight upwards, that is, which does not go roaming around here and there. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, seeking all kind of things. Only this, to understand, 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 to learn, to know, to be. When one reaches the very top, there is nothing more to understand, nothing more to learn. One is. And it's when one is that one understands and knows. So you will not understand by your attempts of understanding or by understanding. You will understand, Mother says, when you become. But to become first, there has to be an aspiration towards understanding so that you can become. And it's when one is that one understands and knows. Inviting reflections, if any.
Good evening, everybody. Uh, when you are talking about the stubbornness, I was reading somewhere that Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he says that our purpose of life is to realization of God. So he never spoke any word or other than the devotion to God. Actually, even every word was so meaningful, and it is required to be spoken at the time. And when he was insisting the mother Kali, you must come out and talk to me. And he was praying every day, and that was not taking place. So he got so frustrated one day, he took out that weapon from mother's hand, and he wanted to cut off his head. And that was the time that mother came and hold his hand, not to cut his head actually. He says, if you are my mother, then how come that you are not talking to me? If you are my mother, how come? You have to come and talk to me whenever I feel like. Whenever I call, you have to come and talk to me. That's why you are mother. So that's what he says, that hak se mango. I say, nahi, it is not that. Just because you have given me birth and I have come to this world, and when I want to meet you and you don't come. So that was the stubbornness, like the single pointed, like arrow. That yes, I have to achieve this. This is the aspiration. Like when you are talking about the stubbornness, I was remembering this. That is, we cannot deviate from our the desired goal, or like in military and defense, we call it the target. The target, you have to you have to stop breathing at the time when you are aiming it, whether it's a gun or it's an arrow or anything of this nature. We are told to hold your breath and all. So you are just stand still actually. There is no movement, and then you release the arrow or the gun and fire. So then it may try to hit the desired target. So that was the thing actually, that we have to surrender ourselves 100%, and we have to not looking here and there. We have to concentrate our mind and channelize all our energy, as Bhagavad Gita says, channelize all our energy towards that. Then only probably we'll be able to realize the God or aspiration. That is the true aspiration. Thank you.
Very beautiful.
Yes, thank you, Captain. You know, this thing about wanting to give one's life, I have read it a few more times in some autobiographies of some more yogis, some saints, that how, after getting like totally doing everything and still not being able to get, say, the darshan of the God, like somebody is wanting to say, take Jal Samadhi and want to submerge himself in the Ganges, and how at the last moment they are stopped and they are said, no, not right now, and they are given that. So it's again the intensity. There was this thing I'd heard, I find it very beautiful, that the lives that we live are so incomplete. Our yearnings are incomplete, our desires are incomplete, our aims are quite small. Like for everything, we just keep holding ourselves back. Like even if I have to, if I don't know, if I resonate with evil. So even if I want to be bad, if I am bad fully, तो रावण को मारने के लिए तो राम खुद आए थे. To kill a Ravan, to stop a Ravan, Rama came himself. But nobody comes for me because I'm nowhere, right? I'm everywhere, a little bit here and there. So I find that very inspiring, that intensity, that like sometimes you have to lose the balance and go berserk before you can find the balance. So that I see again and again, that in me trying to preserve myself, I let go. I am unable to catch the target. कि मैं बचा रहूं कि some sanity, some sense has to remain. Till, of course, I'm dominated by the mind, which I am, but there are more dominations, more lords that are waiting to dominate. So, now there's one thing that's coming to me, and I've shared this before, but it's always nice to repeat. This one thing that once Acharya Prashant in one of his camps had explained to us. Sometimes it gets confusing that, we say that whatever is he's doing, the God is doing, कि उसकी मर्जी के बिना पत्ता भी नहीं हिलता, right? Not even a leaf is moved without his will, without his knowing. So then what is this effort? What am I supposed to do? What is it like? Do I decide my fate, or is everything decided for me? So he had explained it in a very, for an 1 hour long discussion, but to keep it short, he had explained that, say, for example, there's a building which has 100 floors. So right now, what I can do is slowly, slowly, slowly upgrade my levels. Like if I am on level 2, whatever I think I need to do to become more, to, I don't know, be less or be more simple, be less stringy. I know, like moving towards hit. choosing the right over the pleasures or the happiness, I can steadily, depending on my pace, climb the floors, like from second to 22nd, whatever I go up, I go up, I go up. So this is in my domain. Whether I'm falling down or climbing, whether I'm, which floor am I on? And he had said that once you will reach, say, the 100th floor, the roof, then a hand comes and pulls you up. So that jump is not your doing, but this climb is your doing, your will, your sincerity. So effort has to be there, the will has to be there, the sincerity has to be there. I cannot just say that, अरे सब कुछ वो कर रहा है वही करेगा. So because we sometimes get stuck there. So this has stayed with me for quite some time, and I liked how he had explained it. That my job is to reach the top floor, and then whatever is meant will happen. I will be taken, but I must reach to whatever level I can, how I can. Yeah. Anything from anybody else on this passage? So if not, then maybe we can just read it once fully. If anybody wants to do that, then we'll end, because there's no, I think just one passage at one on one day is good. Lot of things to think and do, and I don't know, straighten within ourselves. Is there anybody who would like to read it for us?
I'll read that. I'll read that.
Yes, please.
Aspiration is like an arrow. Aspiration is like an arrow, like this, with the gesture. So you aspire, want very earnestly to understand, know, enter into the truth. Yes. And then with that aspiration, you do this. Your aspiration rises, 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 rises straight up, very strong, and then it strikes against a kind of, how to put it, lead which is there, hard like iron and extremely thick, and it does not pass through. And then you say, see, what is the use of aspiring? It brings nothing at all. I meet with something hard and cannot pass. But you know about the drop of water which falls on the rock. It ends up by making a chasm. It cuts the rock from top to bottom. Your aspiration is a drop of water which, instead of falling, rises. So, by dint of rising, it beats, 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 and one day it makes a hole. By dint of rising, and when it makes the hole, suddenly it springs out from this lid and enters an immensity of light. And you say, ah, now I understand. It is like that. So one must be very persistent, very stubborn, and have an aspiration which rises straight upwards. That is, which does not go roaming around here and there, seeking all kinds of things. Only this, to understand, 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 to learn to know, to be. When one reaches the very top, there is nothing more to understand, nothing more to learn, and it is when one is that, one understands and knows. Thank you.
So we'll end the session here. Thanking Grace, thanking the Divine for these words, these pointers, And now it's up to me how much I want to follow, how much I want to take, how much I'm capable of taking. May I be wise in my choices. May all of us be wiser in our choices. May our hearts be filled with joy and peace. This I pray. Thank you.